Hi and welcome back to a new video. Yeah, I'm actually here at CES 2024 at Cooler Master, which you would probably not guess, me sitting at a drum set, but they made the chair I'm sitting on right now, which is an obscure product probably for Cooler Master, but they have a lot of very interesting things they show here at CES, especially when it comes to cooling. So I thought I'd take you around and give you a tour around their suite. Today's video is sponsored by Hetzner with the Hetzner AX102 dedicated root server. The base for this incredibly high performance root server is the AMD Ryzen 7950X 3D 16-core processor. Due to 8 cores with 3D V-cache and 8 normal Ryzen cores, the AX102 is perfect for both high memory intensive workloads or also workloads that require a high CPU clock. This is also why this server always comes with massive 128GB of DDR5 ECC memory and two 1.92TB NVMe data center SSDs, which can always be extended with extra drives. Depending on your requirements, the server is available in Germany or Finland and always comes with all the Hetzner amenities, such as DDoS protection and very good customer support. Find all information about Hetzner's AX102 down below. We will start with this setup, and the focus of this setup is going to be the M.2 heatsink. And as you probably know from some of my previous videos, I'm a big fan of testing M.2 heatsink. And I just thought initially, okay, that's just going to be another M.2 heatsink, kind of looked the same. But the heatsink inside is this. And first look, it just looks like a normal copper heatsink, but you can already judge by this one that it is a vapor chamber. And if we tilt it a little bit, you can see that there is a difference in this surface and like the rest. So you can kind of see and guess where the vapor chamber sits. And what I find even more fascinating, and at least to the Cooler Master rep right here, he also said that those elements on the side are hollow and contain parts of the vapor chamber. He said they're basically a lot of tiny vapor chambers. Honestly speaking, I'm not quite sure how this would be made or how this would be built internally. So that's definitely something I would look into once it's released, because honestly, it just looks like, pure massive copper and not like a vapor chamber. Something we will have to investigate once it's out. Continuing with what Cooler Master calls the Project G11, and that is this AIO, which has, on first look, a very interesting looking pump housing, or like the cooler itself. I like the additional fins they put on there. It just kind of expresses performance. That is one thing, but I think the major change there is the pump. And I like that they made this specific view from the pump that they cut through, and you can see how it looks like inside. And according to Cooler Master, they changed the internal layout completely, and the pump is sitting much higher than it usually does. Typically the pump sits lower and is much more affected by the heat that is then distributed or like put through the cold plate. And in this design, when the pump sits higher, it apparently is positive for the life expectancy of the pump. And they also, through the space increase, managed to increase the throughput of the pump, the flow rate. But I'm fully honest, I'm not quite sure how this is built and which part is responsible of increasing the flow rate. Next to the G11, we have the Project VGA cooler. And I'm pretty sure you straight noticed how this product works, because you can take off the original fan shroud with the fans built in from your graphics card. In this case, it's an Asus TUF card, and replace the fans and have a new shroud on it. That would be the shroud that can hold in two 120mm fans, as you can see right here, the Möbius fans, I think they're called. And like this Cooler Master said, they can keep the GPU about 6 degrees Celsius colder at the same noise level, which is something I think is possible and kind of makes sense, because you have a bigger fan that can have a higher flow rate, kind of higher airflow, just due to the bigger size you can utilize compared to the original fans. Another thing is, it is quite massive. And also, according to Cooler Master, it is kind of a bundle with the vertical GPU holder. And I'm not quite sure if I really like that, simply because it would mean that you probably have to use this in a Cooler Master case, and thus it would drastically limit the use cases where you can use it. Now this is something extremely interesting, and I'm pretty sure you already have seen pictures of this cooler out there. And I just want to start with this view because it shows how the cooler is built internally, especially with this vapor chamber on the bottom. That's why they call it the 3D VC technology, 3D vapor chamber. And the part you can see on the right is the bottom of this air cooler. The project New V8 is this very specific air cooler I want to talk about. And first look, it doesn't really look that special. It just looks very sleek, elegant, kind of nice design when it comes to a recent air cooler. But the special part about this is the cold plate of this cooler. Trying not to break it. Also trying not to drop it. And the main difference compared to any other nowadays air cooler is that this surface right here is not just a copper base or like direct heat pipe touch or something like that. Going back to this is the bottom of the vapor chamber, and then you have kind of like heat pipes exiting this vapor chamber, which is something I think I haven't seen before anywhere. And this is exactly, if we go back and check the cooler, you can see those like straight pipes that go into the fin stack. These pipes exit from the vapor chamber. And then in addition, for heat transport, you have those massive heat pipes. They look like 8mm heat pipes, so probably 2 and bent in a U shape. But this very specific design, according to Cooler Master, allows to dissipate 720 watt, which is absolutely insane. I mean, that's basically twice as much as any other recent air cooler can do. So that will be very interesting to see. Cooler Master obviously is famous for their cases, and they're also showing some interesting stuff here. I want to quickly highlight this because it comes with a built-in AIO, which may not sound that special, but they are able to customize and adjust the AIO according to the needs of the case, which there might just be because of the size, because it's kind of like an ITX build. But if we switch over to this one, you will notice that the AIO is sitting in the bottom. Especially if you follow Steve and his AIO rant video kind of, or like the mistakes you can do using an AIO in your build, then you will be aware that putting the radiator in the bottom of the case can be problematic because it usually traps the air in the pump, which then can drastically decrease the life expectancy of your AIO. Cooler Master obviously knows about that, and for those PCs or like cases that come with the AIO built in, like this very specific case, they changed the radiator. I'm not sure, probably cannot see that on the camera, but they showed it to me earlier. So they adjusted the AIO to have an additional reservoir in the bottom down there that catches the air and thus protects the pump. So they can actually make use of AIO with the radiator in the bottom and still have the same kind of life expectancy as, let's say, here with a normal pump or radiator orientation. This is also a big surprise to me because you can see Cooler Master is now also stepping into the custom water cooling market, which was definitely a surprise for me. And there are a few things we should maybe talk about. At least I would like to hear your feedback on it. There are interesting stuff about this water cooling gear and also, I would say, controversial topics. I would start with the radiators first, which strongly remind me of the EK surface radiator, which is per se nothing bad. And there is also a difference. I'm trying to catch it for you on the camera. I hope you can see it. If you look at the fins of the radiator, you will see that they don't have the typical, I'm not sure how to explain it, but the typical way the radiators are made with the structures that goes like up and down, left and right. But you can see the fins in here, they have a straight orientation. So it kind of reminds me more of a, I don't know, like a notebook heatsink or something like that. That is definitely something new. And Cooler Master said that the fin density is higher and they can dissipate about 20% more heat than a traditional radiator, which is definitely impressive and very interesting. Cooler Master is showing their own fittings. As you can see, they're not round fittings. That is also something new, something unique. I'm still not quite sure if I like it or not. That is also something I would like to hear from you. But it's kind of a traditional compression fitting. You will have your fitting inside your PC at your GPU, for example. You put in your hard tube and it's going to make contact or sealing with the first O-ring that is sitting inside this fitting, and then it comes to the point where you have to put this on. And obviously at a certain point, let's say exactly like this, you think, okay, this is perfectly tight around my hard tube. At this point, you will be forced to go, let's say, worst case, another, like, not quarter rotation, but an eighth of a rotation, you know what I mean? Because you're pushed to either tighten it more or tighten it less to have the correct orientation. That is definitely a trade-off you will have with those fittings. The fittings on the right are for traditional hard tubes, like this one is like 10 millimeter probably, and this is like 12 or 14. And then next to it, you have these kind of strange looking ones. And these fittings are for those square heat pipes. Cooler Master just thought, okay, normal round heat pipes are boring. Let's just move to square ones. They also have this showcase system here to get a better impression of how this would look like in a system. It's also probably better for you to digest the new design of those square heat pipes. And this way you can probably easier judge if that's something for you or not. But now I want to talk with you about GPU block, but also mainly the CPU block. This is the CPU cooling block, and I'm just going to be fully honest, straight what I'm thinking. This looks like a straight ahead EK copy. You can tell me what you think about this, but especially let's take a look at this part. The back plate, remove it. It just looks exactly the same as EK's exact mount. Then I asked Cooler Master about this, like, did you just copy this? And from what I know, EK has a patent on this exact mount system, so what do you think about it? And then Cooler Master told me that they kind of bypassed the patent by having standoffs here instead of the normal threads or like the screws that come out from the EK block are always standoffs, and here you have to add the screws yourself first. And according to Cooler Master, this is bypassing the patent. And I'm not quite sure if I like the ingenuity of bypassing the patent or if I'm just not a fan at all, because it's a straight up just copy in my opinion. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on it, but I mean, it's like the steel plate and then the cold plate and just the general design from the front with like this part here that you can, maybe you cannot take it off on an EK one, I don't know, but just this way looks exactly the same, which I think is also a missed opportunity. Why would you, if you're such a big company and you have so many great ideas with all the other products we saw, why would you just straight up use the same design? Let me know what you think about that part. That was our quick tour from CES 2024 from the Cooler Master suite. I was impressed by the innovations and new products they showcased. This specific M.2 heatsink, which I find like really interesting. The new V8 air cooler with the vapor chamber, 3D vapor chamber technology, definitely impressive. They also had a lot more products I didn't show on camera, like massage chairs and like sim rigs and stuff. Also other products that are still under NDA that will be very interesting and hopefully something we can look at. Then on the other hand, the custom water cooling parts, it is cool that they step into water cooling business, but to me it felt too much like an EK copy. Like the radiator looked like the EK surface radiator, the block looked exactly like the velocity block, and I just don't get it. Like, just do something different, and EK has very high quality, high reputation. Why would you try to compete with them and at the same time just copy it? Like, doesn't really make much sense. Just try to do something else. But that's something I would like to hear your opinions on. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.